Hello and welcome back to A Call from the Stars, A Call to Arms, Chapter 27. Point of View: Acting Battalion Commander Sin, Earth Assault Force on Alien Home Planet. Well, we finally got a small reprieve. We've almost been in constant fighting for about 7 weeks now. I'm getting a little tired, but so are my guys. I hate the fact that I gotta stay up sometimes 4 days at a time, but it is what it is. That's what war is. It's just a giant slog through all sorts of hell. As we have a small break before the next assault, we get our wounded out to the MASH, the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. Yes, we did bring those back. And we got the KIAs out. Unfortunately, our losses in that are mounting up over 30%. For most alien militaries, they would just give up at this point because the losses are too high, but we're humans. We get involved in a fight and look the hell out. Speaking of which, I've had to actually pull the reins on several of my men, trying to just slow them down. The sheer rage they had after seeing the enemy adolescents doing that and other things to the slaves. Ugh. I can't think about it. Because as any good leader knows, the leader must be the rock, the one that everyone leans on. I must remain stoic and straightforward. I don't have a choice. After a small break, it's back to work, and it's time to get this over with. Standing on the front lines, looking over the next population center and the largest one on this side of the planet, I talk with my platoon leaders, my company commanders, my platoon sergeants, and we try to formulate a plan as we look across with the binoculars. As I step down to talk to my company commanders, I hear one of the young guys scream, "What the hell is this bastard doing?" We immediately all look up, pull up any type of distance vision we can get, and ask what's going on. The young private points it out, and he's been with us since the initial drop, so he's just as mean as the rest of them. But he points out the location, and sure enough, there's one of the enemy, still in his body armor, standing in the doorway of one of these giant buildings. He's got his arms, well, if you want to call them arms, the ones that are not holding something, and we'll get into that in a second. Those that are not holding something are out in kind of a, I'm so much bigger than everyone else. He was flanked on his left and right by other enemy sniffs, as they also held something. That something, they each held an adolescent to child in their hands. Not a sniff, but two, the ones flanked on either side, were lizards. We couldn't tell male or female because, well, until they hit puberty, we can't tell them apart. The PZ that was held up in front, the only way I could tell if it was male or female was the clothing it was wearing. Even then, it was difficult. The damn thing couldn't have been more than maybe 5, 6 years old, if that. Each of these sniffs held him up, and I don't know if this was supposed to be a threat display, a way of warning us, or whatever. I'm sure there's some sort of cultural difference that goes in there, but all I could hear from our guys as they lowered these children from above their heads is no, 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 as they immediately reached open their maw and started ripping these children apart. One grabbed an arm and ripped it clean off, sucking the arm straight down its mouth. Another one on the other side grabbed the base, put the entire bottom half of the child in his mouth and ripped it in half and crushed it in a way that the blood splattered across its face. The one in the center decided to be just a bit meaner. He held it like a goddamn Subway sandwich, reached around the side, to where you would think its kidneys would be, and that PZ lost about a quarter of its abdomen as this thing bit the side out. All three of the kids screaming in pain so loud that even at almost a kilometer away, we could hear it through our armor. In our trench line, everything was silent. Absolutely quiet. That's when we heard probably the best sound we ever could. The 25 millimeter cannons opened up and shredded all three of those bastards where they stood. You could actually see a bit of surprise on their face as their bodies were torn to pieces. I didn't have to give the order. Everybody was watching at that time. And by the time I even raised my weapon to tell them to move forward, everybody came out of the trenches in sheer and total rage. Everybody knew a lizard couple, or was even in relations with one, even with a PZ. And all I could think of is that if that was my child that just got bitten in half, and I lost it. I just heard everyone screaming, "Oh, die, you motherfucker!" as they jumped out of the trenches, just firing like hell. Every tank that had been looking, every armor personnel carrier started firing. The word must have got back to the rear because the artillery opened up. We were barely 10 feet out of our trenches as we started blasting into there. We wanted blood now. It might have been a warning for them, but it was nothing but something to piss us off. There was no stopping my men now. There was no holding them back. I screamed as much as I could. "Platoon sergeants, get your men in line. Company commanders, get them organized." It didn't matter. The bloodlust that we had warned them about, that humans are capable of, had taken over. These men, these torn men, watching their friends get torn apart days in and days out, never really having a reprieve, thought maybe for a moment they could find some peace, but now they charged in through weapons, firing off all guns blazing as they tore into the enemy structures. The artillery barely far enough in front of us as they walked it forward. Grenades being bopped out all over the front of the buildings. Some of the buildings even coming down, crashing to the floor. Our men ran through, ripping apart anything they could. It was glorious. But I wondered in that one moment, was this a trap? Would our rage get the better of us? And it was at that moment we saw the sniffs come out with their weapons raised. I thought to myself, and so did the rest of my men, I'm sure, if we're dying today, we're taking as many of these bastards to hell with us. Ah!